bringing up a lot of great points, Colonel. And one of the reasons that we are, obviously huge advocates for universal health care is we both agree that the for-profit middlemen in between us and our doctors have no reason to exist. No one, obviously, again, somebody who worked at the Pentagon knows, no one lobbies Capitol Hill with more money every year than private insurance and big pharma. It is absolutely disgusting the amount of money that they spend. And as we see, some are really not that expensive to buy off. Kristen Sinema. It's amazing how that works. Would love to hear the conservative perspective, because what we always emphasize is that our version of universal health care is one that is government funded, not government run. Right. There is this perception that we want the government to take over health care. That is not what we want. We want doctors to be able to, if you're a doctor in New Orleans and you're better than, the other 100 doctors that do a specific type of urgent care, let's say, you should be able to make whatever it is that you want to make. But there doesn't need to be Aetna, Cigna, United. Right. There doesn't need to be sponsored by Pfizer, as we like to say.
How many levels of vice presidents and executive vice presidents and assistants are getting salaries that should be going towards our healthcare?
Yeah. That's the thing. So where do you stand? So where do you stand as far as universal health care?
Do you support single payer?
Well, I was born into a military family. I have 3 brothers. So I have lived under government-run healthcare for most of my life. Quite honestly, I agree with you. The government can't run. The government can't run wars very well. We just blew it in Afghanistan when we didn't have to. The government can't even run wars, and it used to be okay at that. So I agree with you. The government should not be running healthcare anywhere. The challenge with funding, though, and this is where we're going to find some disagreement. The challenge with using government funding is with government funding comes the government strings, and it works this way in the defense world, works this way in the health world, anything in education at the local level. There are federal strings that come in that push around the locals on how to do business and those kind of things. That's the problem that I have with like a single payer type thing. I believe in competition and that kind of thing, but should we really even have insurance? It's the insurance companies and big pharma that are making they're making all these billions and trillions of dollars in money, and the little guy is not able to break through that. So I'm kind of nonplussed on health insurance, quite frankly. Now I can say that easily because I have my health insurance and all that stuff, but there may be other ways that we could do it. That don't require having big insurance companies, that don't require massive amounts of federal funding that has the strings attached to it. There are little experiments that I've seen running around, and I always get positive feedback on them when I ask people about them that have been involved. And they're like co-ops where people fund each other's healthcare and those kind of things for a fee and that kind of stuff. So but here's the bottom line: we agree. There's a problem, and it's a big problem, and it's a big, heavy lift, but we've got to get it done, because if we don't, what we're going to see is what you saw from January 2020 to today, and are continuing to see a little bit today with the pandemic, is what massive government control and influence will look like in your healthcare, on steroids because of these emergency orders and those kind of things. So, and I think everybody's most people are like, this is really bothering me. At least people I talk to, and I don't just talk to people that think they're conservative. I try to talk to all kinds of folks, and I get the same answer every time I ask: is there's a place that you can go that's way too far, and I think we've witnessed that the last couple of years. So maybe that will drive us where we can come together and talk about real solutions instead of ideological fights.
Yeah, well, we find that that's the biggest problem is people are very tribal. People like to have a team, and they're going to stick with their team, and they're going to repeat their team's talking points, even when their team is not being reasonable. And that's the problem. And whatever team you're on, there's going to be a point when your team is not being reasonable and you don't agree. And do you just fall in line with your team? Or do you say, no, this is not for me anymore, or suggest that maybe your team starts being a little bit more reasonable, whatever. But that's what we try very much to stick on policy and what we're trying to accomplish, and not really get into partisan hackery. And quite honestly, for us, it comes down to whether or not somebody's a corporate whore. If you are representing your people, whether they're conservative or whatever they are, I'm okay with that. Like, that's not, we could disagree on policy, but when you're being paid for by big corporate interests, you don't get to say you're representing regular people, whatever those regular people would want. And that's really what we're about, you know, like conservative or progressive. If you're representing the majority, that's what we support.
And a great example of that would be somebody like Rand Paul, because you don't have to agree 100% with where Rand is politically, and we don't. But he also is correct on a lot of things. And he is one of only two senators, 2 out of 100 on Capitol Hill, that lobbyists do not meet with. He's one, and Bernie Sanders is the other. And that's all you really need to know about where our government is today.
That's why they have credibility to me. Even though I don't agree with him a lot, Rand Paul, I don't. But he does have a certain amount of credibility because I know he's not a corporate whore. So that to me is a huge deal. And I don't have to agree with someone to at least appreciate that they're doing this for the right reasons and to represent people. And that's our biggest hurdle. And I think that is our biggest hurdle across the board for all of us. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.